Hello, welcome to Kitchen Basics 101, where I teach you the bare bone basics as if you have never cooked a day in your life from the perspective of a mom. It's that time of year, right? Everyone's making holiday food. Everyone's making I don't know, pumpkin pie, or they're making side dishes for Thanksgiving and all that stuff. I'm going to use the two bigger ones. So it's the time of year that I want to make, obviously, pumpkin things, and I want to make all the holiday things. And something that I've never made for you and I've never made for myself is pumpkin chocolate chip bread. What's funny is that we eat pumpkin chocolate chip bread in this house like basically every single day. For whatever reason, I've never made it. I'm going to try a recipe from a creator on here because I love TikTok just as much as you guys love TikTok. We're going to get started by making the dry ingredients. This batter does what a lot of batters do, which is that you're going to make the dry ingredients separate from the wet ingredients, and then you're going to put the dry ingredients on top of the wet ingredients. This is a pretty standard like muffin or cake or bread process, is to add the wet to the dry ingredients. So that's a cup. We're doing a cup and 3/4 of a cup. So I'm going to measure 3/4 of a cup with a cup measure because I'm bad like that. The recipe calls for salt, but I'm going to use salted butter because I always use salted butter. So I'm not going to add the salt because that would make it way too salty. But part of the reason you use unsalted butter and then you add the salt is because you want to control the salt level. But like, I can't be bothered. So it's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Obviously, if you don't like cinnamon, leave it out. I personally love cinnamon, so I'm definitely putting the cinnamon in. It smells so good. I literally already want to eat it just from the smell of the cinnamon. Oh my gosh. Then 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, which I also love. Like, we'll see how the recipe turns out, but I might tweak this and add more of this. We'll see. Because I really love, like, when you think pumpkin spice latte, it's exactly that. It's the spice part more than it's the pumpkin part. You know what I'm saying? Here's all my dry ingredients. Just going to whisk those ingredients together. Another option would be you could put this through a sifter, a flour sifter, and that's perfectly fine as well. Or you can whisk it. Not everyone's got a sifter, right? So we're going to make that, and then we're going to set it aside. I always do mise en place, so I always get everything prepped before I start. So the recipe called for melted butter. I've already melted that so that it can cool off before I start doing the wet ingredients. We're going to do 2 eggs. I suppose I could have used a smaller bowl, but I wanted to try out this big giant bowl because I'm going to be making stuffing at Thanksgiving time, and I'm going to need a giant bowl to be able to mix in. And sometimes looks can be deceiving and you can't tell how big a bowl is, but like you can't even see the eggs in this giant bowl. 1 cup of granulated sugar, and then we need a 1/4 cup. So 1 1/4 cup granulated sugar. Voila. All right, we're going to add pumpkin in a second. I hear my faucet dripping, but I'm going to combine together this eggs and sugar first and whip it up a little bit before I add the pumpkin in here. We're going to use the can of pumpkin just the way that it is, but I have seen a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of recipes that are using pumpkin, either in the spice cake, the cookies, the muffins, the whatever, and they're drying it out or roasting it. So they're spreading this out on a roasting pan and roasting it a little bit, or they're cooking it in a pan to concentrate the flavors a little bit. This recipe doesn't call for that, but after I make it and try it the way that it was designed, I may try that just to see how that changes the flavor. I get taking the moisture out, but I also feel like it does change the pumpkin flavor, so I'd be curious. I'm supposed to do 1 1/2 cups, and I don't know how much is in this can, so I'm gonna do a little like measure to see. But a great way to not dirty more dishes is just do the 1/2 cup 3 times. That's 1 1/2, right? I mean, I already have a 1 cup measuring dirty, but sometimes you don't. And it's like, you could use the smaller measure multiple times to get where you're going. So that's a 1/2. So put that in the bowl, which I have precariously perched next to me. I'm thinking it's going to be the whole can, but I just want to make double sure for you guys that it is. 2. Yeah. You can just use, yeah. Instead of measuring out 1 1/2, you could definitely just use the whole can. Which is maybe why the recipe is written that way, which I appreciate, I want to tell you. Because I hate when I have like a leftover little smidge of this and a leftover little smidge of that. Mix our pumpkin in. It's a little hard for me to do one-handed. But I wanted you to be able to see it. Gorgeous. Add a 1/4 cup of whole milk. Beautiful. That melted butter that we melted previously so that it's not too hot. I'm actually going to use a spatula to get every last bit of that butter. And that was 1 stick of butter, which I think is 8 tablespoons. Don't quote me. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients on top of our wet. Voila. Again, we're going to... Now, once you put flour in, don't overmix. You want this to just come together, okay? If you overmix at this stage, when the flour is in there, you can make the flour like glutinous, and then it becomes texturally different. Like sometimes gummy, sometimes tough or dense. You want to keep it, you know, I mean, it's bread, so it's going to be dense, but you want to keep it as light and fluffy as you can. So just mix it till it comes together, okay? Which is, oh, stunning. I wish you had smell-o-vision. You could smell it. It smells so amazing. I cannot wait to get this in my face. Now the chocolate chips. I forgot baking soda, didn't I? I think I forgot baking soda. Let's add it right now because I'm pretty sure I did forget it. We need a teaspoon of baking soda. That would have been bad. It wouldn't have risen. It would have been so flat if I didn't put the baking soda in. I don't remember doing it. Hopefully I didn't. I probably should look back at the tapes, but I don't think I put it in. So let's get it in there and stir it up. I make mistakes every day on here for you guys, right? We're making cooking approachable. Last thing before we bake at 350 is a cup of chocolate chips. I may have put a few extra than a cup. And I use milk chocolate chips, and honestly, the Target brand is my kid's favorite. It's very delicious. You could also like use shaved chocolate, or you could use mini chocolate chips. You could use whatever you want, really. But more chocolate is better in this house. I butter my loaf pan. I always use the butter wrapper. If anyone has like a great brand that makes like ceramic loaf pans, tag them for me here. Let me know about them because I am not in love with this metal loaf pan. It's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. And I like to use things that are aesthetically pleasing. That's why I have the bowls that are so pretty. Like I want things that look pretty, right? If something's pretty, I'm just more likely to use it. All right, let's spoon this gorgeousness into our loaf pan. Oh my God, look at how beautiful. Oh, look at this deliciousness. I'm gonna put this in the 350-degree oven for about an hour until a toothpick comes out. Okay, this is our big moment. I can't tell if I overcooked it or not. We're gonna have to taste. It turned out gorgeous, but it's still super hot. And so it turned into a crumbly mess when I took it out. But we have to taste it just to make sure that it's not poisonous, right? Mmm. Yum. That is so good. I don't think there's any reason to roast the pumpkin. It turned out perfectly like this. Like, so delicious.